Nice starting point for our material. We're going to take our measure from here and we're going to make a cut on the other side. Now, we're going for an 8-foot tall wall here to scale. So that's going to mean we want, with our combined plate, with our combined bottom plate and double top plate, we need to take that into consideration when we're doing our layout. So we're going to take, there's 3, bottom, top, double. We're going to take off 1 1/4 inch off the overall height. So make that deduction for our studs. We're building our scale to 1.5 inches equals 1 foot. So if I'm going for 8 feet, I'm going to take 8 plus half of 8, 1.5, right everybody? So what does that give me? 12 overall. So I'm going to deduct 1 1/4 from 12. That's going to leave me with 10 3/4 if I've done my math right. So now we're going to take this here. Here's where the ruler comes in hand. 10 3/4. Mark that out. Square. Mark it. And bring it over to the miter saw and or the power miter saw, whichever you prefer. Again, it's long enough that we can use it. Our rule of thumb here in the shop with the miter saw is you must be 4 fingers away from the blade and your hand holding. So that's the minimum that we can cut here in the shop. Now remember, waist side of the line, tight to the fence. You bring the saw down, you sight the blade, get your hand over here. Saw is in the up position. We come down, make the cut, release the trigger, hold the saw down until it comes to a complete stop, and then we bring the blade back up. Here we go. Now you can see I cut it a little close, but you can just barely see the pencil line. That's what we're after. So we should have an accurate stud height now. So now it's on to the layout of the plates, pre-drilling, and we nail the wall together. Now we have our studs for our through wall. It's onto the plates. This shed is an 8 by 10. So if I measure to scale, 1.5 inches equals a foot, gives me 12. That's my 8 feet. Come back this way. 10 feet this way, I should end up with 15 inches, right? Because 1.5 inches, so think of it as 1 foot. I'm hoping that makes sense to you. 1.5 inches equals a foot. So 1.5 inches on my ruler equals 1 foot. And if I'm gonna go up 10 feet, 10 times 1.5 is 15. So 15 inches. I made the fresh cut here. I'm gonna measure my 15 inches with my ruler. And remember, it's very important to have a nice sharp pencil for accuracy. I'm going to mark 15. I'm going to use my square. Why don't I use my little mini square? Now, this is important when you're doing your marking. You put your pencil on the mark. Don't try to find the mark with the tool. Find the mark with your pencil. Bring the tool to the pencil and make your mark. And for practice, I like to see you go all the way around, everybody. Just put the pencil there, just so you develop this muscle memory and things start to move quicker for you. And we're going to be doing that for all of our layout. What we need is on the top and bottom, if you look here, we need the marks to be on the top where your nails are going to go. We need them on the side of the top plate so that when you bring your stud up, you can align it properly. So there's going to be a lot of layout here, and again, this is for practice. In the field, we wouldn't do that. We'd measure over to our 15 1/4, scribe a line, put an X to the right of it, and go from that 15 1/4, 16 inches over, and just keep doing that. But we're learning, we're practicing, so the more we do it, the better we'll be at it. So now, I have my line. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. And I'm going to lay out my 16 on center for my through wall here. Okay, so I've made that cut. And I don't know if you can see it, but the pencil line is remaining. Right? Nice cut. Let's check it for accuracy. 15. Now let's do our 16 on center. We're going to take our architect's ruler and we're going to find our scale. 1.5 inches equals 1 foot. And what I like to do is take my pencil and mark the 4-inch mark so that I'm not searching for it. And for the first one, measuring from the end of the plate, I'm putting a mark at 16. So I've just marked from the end to the center of 16. Now, if I have a mark at the center of 16 and I put my material over it, I can't find that mark anymore. So I need a mark that I can find for my layout. So what we're going to do is we're going to take half the thickness of this material. So we're going to go here. What I like to do, this is a little trick. You use your finger, your pencil, and you mark this way, and you turn it around and mark the other way. And if you're on the money, you're on the money. It's half of 3/8. So half of 3/8 is what, everybody? Let's see. 3/8, that's 6/16. So half of 3/8 would be 3/16. Just for practice, everybody. Now, let me get a line on the center so you can see it. There's our center line. There's the center of our stud, and you can see right there. I'm lining that up. I'm going to put it down here, and I'm going to put a mark on the left side of my center line. So not to be confused, I'm going to put a C for center. Center, there's my mark. Now I'm going to square that. Pencil on the mark, slide the tool to the pencil, make the mark. Now, what I want you people to do is I want a mark on the other side as well. So you're going to line up your stud here, you're going to find the other side, and you're going to mark the other side. And the reason I'm doing that, a couple of reasons. One, practice with the tool, but it also allows us to drop down on the side here. So I want you to practice center, left and right. So you drop down. Now I can put an X here, and that's going to tell me where the stud goes when we do the assembly. And then I bring that up, and it gives me a nice line up for that. And we're going to put one on the end here for the end stud. So I'm going to line up this end stud flush to the outside end of the plate. I'm going to square that. I'm going to put a mark. I'm going to put one on the other end because there's an end stud on the other side. Hold it flush, side of the stud, flush to the end of the plates. Put a mark. Now don't put the mark all the way across with that. You need the tool. Pencil to the mark, tool to the pencil, draw a line, make your mark, your X. So now we have our end stud, our first wall stud, and our other end stud. Or the bay. That's what we call the opening between wall studs, is called the bay. So this bay is going to be narrower than this. All my marks now are going to come from the left side of my first stud with the X to the right. And some people would say X away, or you hear all different terms for it, but I'm putting my mark from 16 to the left side, and I'm going to mark the right side with my X. Then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to double up those lines like I told you, and transfer this all the way around, and then that's going to help us with our drilling and our layout for our studs and our assembly for our studs. So here we go. 16 on center from there. Super easy once you know how. As Uncle Dickie said, everything is easy once you know how, everybody. Right here. 4 plus 12, 16, X is away. 4 plus 12 equals 16, X is away. I hope you can see this, everybody. One more time. 4 plus 12, 16. And we're going to keep doing that down on the plates. And don't draw a line across the plate by eye and think you're going to get a good layout. You need to use the tools. 16. Just put a hash mark right on the money. 16, X away. 16, X away. 16 X away. And then we end up with that narrow bay at the end that I talked about in my other video. All right, so now we have our end. I'm going to bring my end around with my square, put my pencil on the mark, and draw that mark. And then I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here and right down the line. Pencil to the mark, draw the line. Pencil to the mark, draw the line. Pencil to the mark, draw the line. I'm going to turn it around because I'm running out of square here. I want to keep it accurate, so I'm going to turn it around. I want the majority of the square to be on the workpiece. I don't want to be down here and having this thing roll around on me. So there's my pencil to the mark. There's my line. I'm going to bring this end stud mark around. Now I have all my end studs here. Now, from here, I'm going to measure over 3/8 each time for the opposite side of the stud. A good practice, right? Here we go. Take our ruler. Now we're going to go to a standard ruler. To find the standard ruler, it has the 16 over here, meaning that there's 1/16 of an inch inside here. All right? 0 to 12, 0 being the starting point. You can start from 1 and go 3/8 or any number that you like. I typically do like to, because I like to hold the ruler in my hand, I might pick a number. Often I'll use 6. So I have the ruler in my hand. It makes it comfortable for me. All right, so here we go. 3/8 of an inch over. Put a mark at 3/8. And just keep moving over. I'm moving my ruler over, going 3/8 over. 3/8 over. So now you can see I have all my marks here. 3/8 to create the right side of the stud mark. And I'm going to bring these lines all the way down and around for practice. And then next we're going to lay out for the nails. Okay, I've gone ahead and marked all that now. So a couple points to keep in mind. 1, try to have the tape where it's not going to be in play on the job. Be sure to mark the top and bottom plate. You also want to put an arrow in the direction that you did your layout in. So an arrow in the direction of your layout. And what that's going to prevent you from doing is mistakenly turning this around and nail it and have the studs off. So that's what that's all about. All right, so now we've gone ahead and we've done the layout for the through wall. It's going to go here. And if you look, you see that odd stud. And you look on our assembly, and here we are. Everything's lining up nicely. Okay? And we have our drawing, and that should be lining up as well. So we're doing pretty good here, okay? Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to mark for our pre-drill for our nail. And it's important when you do this that you try to leave the same amount of space from the nail to the outside of the plate. What I mean by that is this is center, and we have about the same amount of space left and right of the nail hole as we do coming off the face of the plate. And what that's going to do is help prevent it from splitting. Now, if you remember when we talked about full scale framing and nail placement, it's also important where that nail goes. And if you remember my Uncle Dickie's rule of thumb, the width of your thumb should be around about where you're putting that nail. If I put the nail too close to the end here, it's gonna eventually split away. All right? There you go. So we're gonna mark these now on our frame here. It's gonna look something like this. And we're going to pre-drill. And you know, from Freshman Exploratory, I also have you pre-drill these for our first frame because you don't have the skills to drive that nail through and keep it straight. And so it's a good starting point, okay? So there you go.